I hope you're ready for a segment where I brag like a douchebag, because that's about to happen. On the Friday show, we did a segment about Representative Bernie Sanders sending a letter to the NSA and asking them, are you spying on members of Congress? And have you ever spied on members of Congress? And I warned you that Bernie Sanders is a smart guy. He's arguably the best person in Congress. And he's probably doing something that you and I don't know all the aspects to yet. He probably knows something that we don't, because he wouldn't ask that question for no reason. Well, he got a response from the NSA, and here it is. They say, quote, NSA authorities to collect signals intelligence data, including procedures that protect the privacy of U.S. persons. Such protections are built and cut across the entire process. Members of Congress have the same privacy protections as all U.S. persons. NSA is fully committed to transparency with Congress. Our interaction with Congress has been extensive both before and since the media disclosures began last June. We are reviewing Senator Sanders' letter now, and we will continue to work to ensure that all members of Congress, including Senator Sanders, have information about NSA's mission, authorities, and programs to fully inform the discharge of their duties. End quote. Now, if you were lost from the first sentence of that, fear not, everybody was. That's the point. I want to read you the first sentence one more time because it doesn't make sense. They say, quote, NSA authorities to collect signals intelligence data include procedures that protect the privacy of U.S. persons. Such protections are built into and cut across the entire process. Huh? That doesn't mean what does that mean? It's just a bunch of words that are vaguely related put together in the same sentence. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But that's the point. That's the point. So, in other words, what they're saying is, fuck yeah, we're spying on members of Congress. And you know how I know that? Because if they're not spying on members of Congress, you know how you answer that question from Bernie Sanders? Here's the letter I sent back to him. You ready? Quote, no. End quote. He asked them point blank, hey, are you spying on members of Congress, or have you ever spied on members of Congress? And they sent back this paragraph, which is barely coherent. No, if they're not spying, they would have said no. They didn't do that. This is a lot like the James Clapper situation when they said, when it was Wyden who asked Clapper, hey, are you spying on millions of Americans, or have you? And Clapper said, no, not wittingly. What does that mean, not wittingly? It's one of those things where it's all the tells, and they're even giving you tells in a written statement, which is even more pathetic, because you should be able to conceal it better if it's a written statement. And I want to reread the most telling line again. They say, quote, members of Congress have the same privacy protections as all U.S. persons. So in other words, you don't have any protections, because the American people don't have any protections. Between the PRISM program, the Blarney program, the XT-Score program, all those things put together, they're tracking your phone calls, your emails, your text messages, anything you've ever typed in on the internet, and even if you deleted it, that's all stored somewhere in an NSA facility, and they can access it whenever they want to access it. So what they're saying is, yes, we are spying on you. Now, I warned you about this on Friday, and at the time I said it was speculation, because it was speculation at the time. But my guess was they're doing it, which is why Bernie Sanders is asking about it. But here is the positive side of this story. This may actually lead to some change at the NSA. Now remember, there was a vote in Congress to change some of the practices of the NSA not that long ago, and it barely failed, because you had the progressive Democrats join up with the Tea Party, and they both stood for the Constitution and for civil liberties, and the only people that voted against it were the establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats, and we barely lost. Well, now, if a story breaks, and it's big headlines, and it really gets out there with all the details, right, and they really say, hey guys, they're spying on you in Congress also, then I guarantee you they're going to flip out, and they're going to say, well, now you've crossed the line. Now you are violating Fourth Amendment protections from unreasonable search and seizure. Why? Because it affects them personally. It's what it always comes down to, man. If it affects them, then they'll want to change it. Because they naively thought, well, I'm part of the good old boys club, so they won't spy on me. They just spy on Muhammad and Tyrone and Jamal and minority communities. I'm one of the good white guys. No, I'm not going to get spied on. They are spying on you, dude. Because guess what? I mean, there could be congressmen or senators who rock the boat too much, and the establishment will want to get rid of them. So if you know that, 32% of them are cheating on their wives. 46% of them visit the massage parlor, right? How many of them do cocaine or smoke weed? How many of them are drunks that are, at the bar half the day? These guys, they're human beings. All of them do all these things, right? I don't know the exact numbers, obviously, but everybody knows they're not holier than thou. So if they think that their ass is on the line, then we might see some actual change at the NSA. I cannot wait for that day. I hope that day comes. Come on, Glenn Greenwald, we're waiting for you, man. Release the story if you have it. Edward Snowden, get on it.